So A/B testing is a tactic that I know is not new to the general communications industry. But again, when we think about the millions or tens of millions of pieces of correspondence that might be going out to health plan members a year, for some reason we give ourselves a pass on utilizing this and really using it to be optimal in terms of driving engagement. Clarity has done a lot of work over the past few years with just saying, what if we just put an alternative version out? And what if we just carved off 5,000 members and looked at the way that two different versions of a letter were put together, both of which ask a member to take an action. But when we do these distributed versions, we might find that some are much more effective at driving engagement than others are. So the reason this is valuable to do, and especially as we sit here in February with a long calendar year ahead of us, if we do some of these tests over the course of the next 3, 4, 5 months, we're going to have great data that tells us next open enrollment period, when we need to distribute communications to hundreds of thousands of people, we are doing so with empirical knowledge that we're going to drive a lot more action because we're using a more effective version of that exact same piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. And this is really the opportunity we feel like is undervalued in the industry. We've got plenty of eyeballs all over these assets, opening up those ID cards to put them in their wallet. And we're generally speaking not asking, hey, did you like the way that I spoke with you in this letter? And if you did, then as a health plan, we can do more of that in the future. That's a really nice opportunity that, again, are part of the conversations that we think should be completely native to communication strategy.
Yeah, so part of our limited time today is we can't talk about kind of the analytics behind measuring the effectiveness of these communications. But I will say that we do spend a lot of time with the plans, not only just talking about how do we test different versions, but therefore how do you measure that? And I know at somewhere in the plan, someone's looking at the registration rate. So we spend a lot of time helping the plan go find and navigate to get that information, and then ultimately enhance that information over time. So even if you are just optimizing one version, looking at version A as a baseline and then understanding 6 months from now how effective that is, that's a big difference from where you were a year ago. So the A/B can seem complex. It can be sometimes, and sometimes we even add a C, which is great for variation. But ultimately, we want you guys to be doing an A. We want you to be testing and learning from the communication that you are spending money on and sending out to members.
Yeah, we'll talk with clients all the time, and Sarah and I will say to each other when we're prepping for client meetings, if there's no measurement happening, the most important data point is the one first data point. And if you learn nothing else, but we get a 10% uptick from whatever we ask of members in our member communications, that is a great way to say, okay, now we're going to start testing to see how we can get to 11%. And again, for those on the phone that are really born and bred marketers, you're around the data all the time. Of moving from 10% to 11% or 1% a year is a huge deal. I mean, when we look back at the competitive environment and what the star ratings look like, if you're improving by 1% a year and your competition across town is not, I mean, you could be 5%, 10%, however further along in terms of your member engagement, without really doing all that much differently. It's just sharpening that pencil on the practices that you've already got in place, the vendors you've already got in place, and getting more out of those. But we couldn't be stronger advocates of measure whatever you're doing, because if you are doing that year over year, you're going to find these incremental improvements that someone who's not measuring is simply leaving on the table, and that can be the differentiation in your market.